Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
The recent Season 22 trailer has got me strangely wanting some more Sixth Doctor and Peri.
Ooh.
So I figure it's time for us to finish their run of comic strip adventures from the pages of Doctor Who magazine. So for April, Chris, we will be reading The World Shapers, which features artwork from John Ridgway and scripts from the legendary Grant Morrison, Jamie Delano, Simon Furman, Mike Collins, and Alan McKenzie.
Wow.
I'm sure we'll have to get the TARDIS timer out.
Yes. And also as well, rather brilliantly, it features dear old Frobisher.
Yes, missed Frobisher.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. How's it going, Matt?
It's going pretty well. I'm very excited for new Doctor Who later this weekend.
Weekend?
We're recording a little in advance, but, you know.
It's not being shown here until Easter.
Well, this goes out the Friday before it premieres, but yeah.
Yeah, this is true, actually, yes. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I guess I wish they would just maybe space the episodes of the show out throughout the year like this anyway, you know, as opposed to airing them all in one go. Gives each episode a little bit more time to breathe, I guess, but it also might not be the best strategy for building a regular viewership too, so...
Yeah, but then again, like we've had the show being moved around to accommodate Strictly, certainly when it was on a Saturday. So yeah, it has been a bit of a guessed time slot.
Well, you know me, I just need one establishing shot of a Sea Devil City underwater, and it will be the best episode ever made. So,
yeah.
How have you been?
How have I been? I've been plagued.
Oh no.
So since we last recorded, the coronavirus visited the household, which meant that the April Fool's episode that we had was very much seat of the pants kind of thing. Because every English household that was involved was, at that immediate moment in time, COVIDed to the nines. So,
well, I think it turned out okay despite that.
I think so. I think it turned out brilliantly.
And I hope everyone's feeling better. And
Yeah, I think just about. I may need to sip more tea than I normally do. Yeah, an interesting experience. I'm glad to have had it out of the system. Certainly not something that I'd wish to repeat.
I've heard the UK is similar to the US, and it's like all of our testing and monitoring is just kind of out the window. And from a official standpoint, it feels like COVID is over.
Yes.
Even though it's very much is like, well, we're in the middle of another wave. So
yes, yeah. Anecdotally, certainly I know quite a few people that have it that have never had it before. And there do seem to be more cases on the rise.
More reason for people to stay safe out there.
Yes, stay safe and read Doctor Who.
Chris, what do you have for show and tell this month?
What do I have for show and tell? I have a movie that we watched last night, The Bubble, featuring Amy Pond herself, Karen Gillan, and it's a Judd Apatow movie.
Huh.
On Netflix, and it concerns the making of a blockbuster movie type thing during COVID.
Huh. haven't heard of it. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it's got Peter, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Peter Safranovich, sort of, who was, I think, the voice of Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, and also has been in various comedy things in the UK. Oh gosh, who else is in it, Chris? Oh dear, dear. Yeah, various American actors of note, and also as well quite a few British folk. Yeah, I mean, Karen Gillan she's a fantastic comedic performer. And it's just great to be able to watch her career continue to bloom.
When you said the bubble, I was thinking, my mind went back to the 1966 3D movie that Mystery Science Theater 3000 is riffing this season. So
yes,
but no, different bubble.
Not that. No, because you have actors living in a bubble.
Yeah, the one I was thinking of is more similar to like Stephen King's Under the Dome.
Ah, right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Not that.
Well, very cool.
Yeah, so on Netflix, and I would say, I mean, if you really dislike Judd Apatow, it's not really going to convince you. But yeah, it was fun.
I just watched a Judd Apatow movie the other week. It was the King of Staten Island, which I enjoyed.
Yes, yeah, we enjoyed that. Cool. How about you?
Well, my pick is a little bit comic book related and ties into our book selection this month, which is The World Shapers. It's a podcast called Doctor Who Panel to Panel, and it's hosted by fellow Minnesotan Jeremy Bement. So he goes through and covers the latest Doctor Who comic releases from Titan and Panini in any given episode, and he's interviewed such luminaries as Paul Scoons, Dan Slott, Gary Russell, Arnold Blumberg, Scott Gray, Gary Gilliatt, and many others. And it turns out he listens to our show.
Oh, wow.
And he had me on recently for an interview. And it was a fun, kind of wide-ranging conversation. We talked about which local comic book shops we frequent, the book club podcast, of course, some of my earliest comic purchases, and kind of delved a little bit into the history of Twin Cities Doctor Who fandom. So I don't think it's out quite yet, but it might be by the time this episode releases, so do check it out.
Cool.
And you can see a picture of Jeremy in the latest issue of DWM, number 576. The one with the Sea Devils on the subscriber cover. Okay. And he's covered in the article about Doctor Who comics appropriately.
Oh, wow.
And that's also the issue with the 52-page supplement, Doctor Who Discovers Pirates, a book originally going to be published in the 1970s before the Doctor Who Discovers range was discontinued, and it's a free pack-in exclusive, so...
Cool.
I was really surprised to see that. That was great.
Yeah, I'm a digital subscriber, and I must say I have not downloaded my copy just yet, so I don't know whether that's available for the digital folk.
Yep, it is included in the...
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's how I subscribe to.
Ah, right.
So that brings us to The World Shapers.
It does. Oh, but there's audio news, audio book news.
Oh, is there?
There's a new book, so there's an audio novel that Big Finish have announced, read by Dan Starkey. Emancipation of the Daleks, written by Jonathan Morris, will be available in July and will feature the 12th Doctor and Bill.
Oh, that's great.
And two Bills, it would appear.
Huh.
Bill encountering a Bill from 20 years in the future.
I think there were only 3 12th Doctor and Bill novels ever released, so I very much welcome new versions of these. I just wish that Big Finish would... They used to have, like a book publishing license, and now it's audio only, but I'm hoping someday that these can be collected or republished as physical books too, but I'm very much looking forward to that, and any new 12th Doctor and Bill content sounds good to me. Yeah,
and there are 3 more that they are teasing us with, but the details of which are not known as yet.
And they started this range, I think, earlier this year or last year, because I know Matthew Waterhouse wrote a book for it.
Yes, Watchers.
Few other folks.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that brings us to the book we're reading for this month.
Yes.
Which is The World Shapers. And this was a graphic novel originally published in May of 2008. And at the time it was the 9th volume of collected stories that Panini had published. And they're now up to volume 31. And it collects stories that first appeared in Doctor Who magazine in issues 108 through 129, so December of 85 through September of 87. And the book features digitally restored stories, reprinted in their original episodic format for the first time, and Clayton Hickman was the project editor and designer for the graphic novel. The book itself opens with a rather tongue-in-cheek or tongue-in-beak retrospective interview with Frobisher from DWM 148, April of 89. I decided to wait to read that until the book was over, just in case there were spoilers. But there are no additional interviews with the writers or artists this time. And speaking of, this entire collection features black and white artwork from John Ridgway with scripts from Grant Morrison, known for their work on Batman Arkham Asylum and Doom Patrol, The Invisibles,
Animal Man,
yeah.
Justice League, X-Men. Yeah, the list is not endless, but gosh,
quite lengthy.
Yeah, Grant Morrison has a very impressive body of work.
And Jamie Delano, probably best known for Hellblazer.
Yep.
Simon Furman, Transformers.
And also Simon Furman, who was born in the borough to which I'm speaking to you from.
Interesting.
He is from my very patch of South London. I suspect that we were probably born in the same hospital.
Too funny. And then Mike Collins, known for his work on Star Trek, and then Alan McKenzie, 2000 AD.
Well, Mike Collins also was the first artist to depict the X-Man Gambit.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I think he's also one of two artists to have done the entirety of a Doctor's run in DWM.
Which Doctor was?
Ninth Doctor.
Huh.
And the other one is John Ridgway.
Sixth Doctor, I
yes.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's as their regular run, rather. Yeah. So not like with stuff. When they reappear after their tenure.
Yeah, like Age of Chaos and
Yeah.
And then the cover here depicts the Sixth Doctor, Peri and Frobisher, recoiling from an outstretched Cyberman hand.
Yeah.
And Frobisher looks like he's wearing David Tennant's vacation wear from the beginning of The End of Time.
Yeah.
Peri's likeness on the cover seemed a little bit off to me. I think the Voyager cover seemed to capture her a little bit more closely, but I do appreciate that she's more sensibly dressed on this cover.
Yes.
I went back and re-listened to our Voyager episode just for a bit of a refresher. And in the Cain and Abel story from the end of the last graphic novel, Peri was bored in New York, so the Doctor had stopped to pick her up, having been traveling with Frobisher for a while on his own there. So there was a break where Peri left and then later rejoined the TARDIS, kind of like how Tegan, left briefly in Time Flight before rejoining in Arc of Infinity.
And Frobisher must do similar because of the fact that we don't see him in Trial of a Time Lord.
Ah. True.
Or he's somewhere in the back dealing with something.
Hanging out with
Chameleon.
He's gone by now, but
Yeah.
And I also noticed that the biblical references continue here. We had Cain and Abel in the last story, and now we have a trio of books from, Exodus, Revelation, and Genesis.
Yes.
Not to be confused with their time worm counterparts.
No.
And the Dr. Peri and Frobisher had just defeated the Skeletoids in the previous four-parter, so we're kind of picking things up here. And I'm going to get the TARDIS timer out.
Yes.
And let's maybe set it for 6 minutes,
okay.
As this is the Sixth Doctor. We'll see if that's too short or not, but I'll go ahead and start the clock. Exodus, Revelation, and Genesis. Do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, I'll start. So, on the planet Sylvania, I think that's how I'm going to pronounce it, there's a group of impoverished, large-eyed humanoids, and they're watching as a dilapidated spacecraft leaves the planet. And in the TARDIS, the Doctor is repairing something, whilst Peri is fishing through a basket of clothes. And the Doctor asks Frobisher to retrieve his pneuma spanner, because he doesn't have a screwdriver in these days. And Frobisher and Peri find a dilapidated spacecraft and its passengers in a dark room within the TARDIS. And the Doctor demands that the passengers leave his box room, but Peri convinces him to be compassionate and offers them some food. And one of the new arrivals tells of crop failures and disappearances on the planet Sylvania, and of well-fed scientists living in a castle who refuse to assist the farmers. And the Doctor realises that the only way the ship could have made its way inside the TARDIS is if the TARDIS had materialised around it. So the TARDIS then, in turn, dematerialises, freeing the ship up. And so the Doctor decides to head to this planet to investigate the disappearances.
And it's kind of shocking to see a family living in the TARDIS. very much like brought to mind like these were refugees, and
Oh yeah.
very much like the scene where Peri admonishes the Doctor for not offering the family some food. And even though these are individually titled, this is organized as like a 3-parter based on the table of contents and stuff. So then in the castle on Sylvanar, Professor Verdegast is strangled from behind by an unseen figure who then steals his notebook full of scientific scribblings. And shortly afterwards, the Doctor, Frobisher, and Peri arrive in the TARDIS, materializing in the Professor's kind of chamber in the castle to investigate the disappearances they learned about in the previous installment. And then a character called Krog enters with guards and imprisons them on suspicion of murdering the Professor. And then Krog reveals that a Dr. Polzig was also killed the day prior, and he frees the Doctor to assist the murder investigation while his companions remain imprisoned, just in case the Doctor is in fact the murderer after all. And searching Verdegast's chamber, the Doctor learns that his research is missing and that he was not killed by a living being. The breaks on the neck and stuff were couldn't have been caused by a human. And Dr. Craval, who's a kind of a horribly scarred geneticist with an eye patch, comes looking for Verdegast, and they send him away. And then another scientist, Dr. Sovak, enters crying for help, and his neck bears the same marks of the attack like the one that had killed Verdegast. And then they leave Sovak to report to a director called Ruh, and they find him in his office being strangled by a Cyberman with one human arm.
Yeah, it's an interesting visual, but also initially I kind of went, "Oh, is that an artist error?" but you should know better with Ridgway; he'll know what he's doing. So Captain Krog fights off the Cyberman, who flees through a curtain, and so the curtain's against a solid wall, but the Doctor discovers a secret passage. And Dr. Craval follows the Doctor and Krog through the passage, and they discover Dr. Sovak manufacturing Cybermen in a secret laboratory. And Sovak had faked the earlier attack on him. And he explains that some peasants had taken him to a crashed space vessel where he discovered 4 damaged Cybermen. And he's been rebuilding them with body parts taken from the kidnapped farmers. And Sovak orders his Cybermen to attack so that he can control the castle. But he and the Cybermen are all electrocuted. And Craval explains that Sovak always had a problem with heavy-duty electrics, which is nice. So the electrics caused a fire in the castle, and so the Doctor frees Peri and Frobisher so they can escape in the TARDIS. But because they've been chained up at this point, and so they do escape. But Frobisher then reveals that he's suffering from a condition called a monomorphia, and so therefore he can no longer change his form, and he's now stuck as a penguin.
And this illness seems to come and go.
Yes.
throughout the story, so
yes.
Depending on plot specifics. But I'm really liking John Ridgway's art in this section. It's very clean and crisp. The likenesses are on point.
Yeah.
And I might even prefer his art to Dave Gibbons' work in Tides of Time. It's just it's that good.
Yeah.
And I was genuinely surprised by the full-page Cyberman reveal and let out a bit of an audible gasp there.
Yes.
Because even though they were depicted on the cover, I was thinking that, they're going to show up, much later in the story.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When I read that for the first time, I remember being really surprised. It is a little bit of a shame that it's all kind of resolved by a bit of a
faulty.
But then again, I guess
it's as good of a reason as any.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It is.
And we should mention too that Sheila Cranner is the editor for the entire collection, and Annie Haffacree here did the lettering.
Yes.
And she does for most of the stories in this. Alan McKenzie's script was adapted by John Ridgway for this installment, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Perhaps there are fewer background characters in some shots, or maybe Ridgway got tired of drawing endless stone bricks in the background, as there's quite a few of them.
Well, also Alan McKenzie had been editor for a while, and I think possibly by this stage he might be group editor. So it might have been kind of time constraints as well, or that this was kind of an old script, possibly. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, but it's certainly it's a fun and memorable way to start the collection off.
Yeah, and the TARDIS timer just went off.
Cool. Okay, I didn't hear it, but yeah,
I stopped it just before it sounded there. But yeah, I really enjoyed this first story. The opening scene, especially in the TARDIS with the refugee family, was great, as was the mystery around who was attacking the scientists. And I liked how the Doctor admonished the scientists at the end for only focusing on one line of work and neglecting the needs of the workers in the fields. And I also like how so far the stories have little through links and kind of a continuation of effects of what's happening in the plot from story to story. It gives it kind of a sense of internal continuity and flow, like the early Hartnell and Troughton serials.
Yeah.
So, all right, that takes us to our next story. Which is Nature of the Beast. And this story, like the last one, is also in 3 parts, although they're just called episodes 1 through 3 and they're not individually titled. And the last story was by Alan McKenzie. This time the script is by Simon Furman. And kind of fed up with saving the universe, Peri has persuaded the Doctor to take them to a sunny woodland glade where they can relax and recuperate. And the Doctor's skills in finding an uninhabited planet for them are soon disproved as first a beast from the woods attacks them, and then those pursuing the beasts capture the Dr. Peri and Frobisher, and it transpires that the soldiers that have captured them believe the beast to have killed Erna, who is the wife of the chief warlord of the planet called Macau.
Yeah. And this is not a warlord of a kind of a war games kind of thing, but just but yeah. So the Doctor realizes that the beast is in fact Erna herself, so the wife of Macau, and her former lover is trying to save her from the soldiers. So it's all a bit complicated. And the Doctor succeeds not only in arranging for Erna and Lupe, her lover, to live in the woods together, but stops the whole planet from being destroyed by this guy called Commander Hon, who believes himself to have failed in the task of saving Erna. So, yeah, a bit of a story that's easier to summarise than Exodus, Revelation and Genesis. Also, as well, I say a story that didn't surprise me that much. I have to say, it did feel a little, yeah.
It was a little telegraphed, yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of immediately suspected that the creature was the woman monarch transformed, when all we saw was kind of the mangled frame of her wheelchair. Because the rule, if they don't show the body, it's not. That person's still alive. Yeah. I really liked how the royal guards in the hover sleds and, with their laser javelins were depicted. It reminded me something out of like Jack Kirby's New Gods or Masters of the Universe. Yeah. And I thought maybe Frobisher was a little underused in this story, but I appreciated his quip about being tied up and hung up upside down compared to his counterparts. But he did, add a bit of humor into an otherwise, somewhat straightforward story. And at the end, you had a pair of monsters kind of, going off a little bit like Series 7, the story Hyde. And we have another bomb swap in this story. Where you have, the guy who was wanting to detonate the planet escape, and Erna did kind of how we saw in Shining Darkness and in Trading Futures. It was kind of a serviceable story. Yeah. Maybe a little predictable. And the Doctor still owes Peri a pleasant picnic. So, yeah. Also, as we spoke a little bit about Simon Furman, I don't remember what he mentioned that he's known primarily for his Transformers work. I think he created Death's Head, who is a kind of like a character that appears in the later Doctor Who comic, but is probably a bit more known in the UK than he is in America. But kind of like a robotic mercenary. And I also know that Simon Furman, a mate of mine who's a big Transformers fan, bought some art off him, and was actually posted by Simon Furman himself with like a little accompanying letter. So it's quite lovely. That's cool.
Well,
anyway. We still have a minute and a half, so that's okay. We can...
Yeah, we can crack on, because I don't think we've really got much to say about that one. So in short, Simon Furman, nice guy. That story, maybe not quite as memorable as some of the others that we'll be doing.
That brings us to our next story, which is... Time Bomb.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Reality Bomb. We're only dealing with time here.
No.
And this one is written by Jamie Delano, and the other players, art, lettering, editing, they're all the same. And it is very nice to see a consistent team behind the scenes, which I think when we were reviewing Tides of Time, we were remarking on how much kind of a tumultuous time for the comic strip.
And also the lettering carries on to Ground Zero and beyond. So, anyway, right.
And this one is also in 3 parts. And I will point out, no Earth-based adventures yet. Everything has been very futuristic, and this story continues that trend. So Peri has been dropped off in New York City to see the Dodgers play baseball. But the sports teams are mixing up here because the other team that's mentioned is a football team.
Yes.
Who has since been renamed the Washington Commanders.
Yes. I didn't realize that they've been given a noun, but yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see a football versus baseball matchup like that.
Yes.
Peri seems to be very much functioning in like the day trip role, similar to early stories with Clara. So the Sixth Doctor and Frobisher are traveling in the TARDIS to pick her up when they are hit by a time cannon, which is technology that only Gallifrey is supposed to have. And to find and destroy this technology, the Doctor materializes the TARDIS near the cannon on a planet called Hedron. And the Hedrons have used the cannon to destroy all traces of genetic imperfection in their species. And as the Doctor and Frobisher exit the TARDIS, they're captured by a robot, placed with other types of genetic imperfections, kind of in this big contraption, which then, fires off any material that these robots don't like. And the destination that they're sent to just so happens to be prehistoric Earth. And for good measure, they send the TARDIS along with them, which is very fortunate.
Yes. So the Doctor locates this cube of genetic imperfections and takes it to prevent it from contaminating life on Earth. However, before Frobisher and the Doctor can re-enter the TARDIS, bodies of dead Hedrons begin to appear, and it seems that the Hedrons are continuing to use their cannon. And although the Doctor is desperate to prevent the Hedrons from contaminating Earth any further, the Doctor decides he should pick up Peri in case she can help kind of talk to the Hedrons. I don't know quite why. But anyway.
Peri, international diplomat.
Yes.
Oh, Doctor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, she's probably better than him. But anyway.
That's true.
Materialising in New York City in the year 1986, where I don't think the Dodgers would have been playing baseball then anyway, because wouldn't they have gone off to LA by that stage?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
The Doctor and Frobisher discover that there is no baseball happening, and that the Earth is controlled by sentient reptiles.
But not for some reason Silurians or sea devils.
No, no.
A different species.
Yes, and apparently the Hedron's genetic material has altered the course of life on Earth so that humans never evolved.
And it's kind of an interesting concept, this time cannon almost functioning similar to how a weeping angel works in terms of sending material, back in time.
Well, Time Lash.
Oh, Time Lash as well.
Yes.
Of course.
So I think Jamie Delano's been watching...
That's probably the more spot on.
Yeah, he's been watching Time Lash. I kind of thought, well, maybe I might be able to do this better.
So the Doctor and Frobisher make a hasty retreat and return to prehistoric Earth to attempt to reverse the damage done by the Hedrons. And while the Doctor kind of mulls over the situation, Frobisher decides to grab a bite to eat. But before too long, a large aquatic dinosaur, kind of looks like a plesiosaur, or a plesiosaurus, decides to eat him, or try to eat him. And there's some gorgeous art of their kind of hunt underwater, and Frobisher trying to evade him and stuff. And the Doctor grabs the nearest object to hurl at the dinosaur, but it turns out that this was a sphere containing all of the Hedron's cast-off genetic material, which smashes open, causing the dinosaur to flee, but also irreversibly contaminating prehistoric Earth. And I can't remember if this is where the Doctor kind of channels the Fifth Doctor, or maybe that's in a later story.
Oh, I think it is in here. Yeah.
But there's a few different points where the Doctor has the need to throw something, really accurately, and you get like an image of the Fifth Doctor like in the background.
Yes.
Like helping him.
Yes, I remember how to play cricket, and bearing in mind the Doctor Who and the Cricket Men and cricket is basically an intergalactic war crime. Anyway, canon. So angry that Frobisher has... Oh dear.
Here,
Well, we did Nature of the Beast quite quick.
I'm trying to stop it here. It's there we go.
Okay, so angry that Frobisher has caused them to further contaminate life on Earth, the Doctor and Frobisher return to Hedron so they can at least destroy the time cannon and prevent it from doing any further damage to the universe. But on Hedron, they discover that everyone's died through some terrible cataclysm, and they find a recording from one of the last Hedrons and learn that the cause of destruction was a spaceship that had crashed on the planet, releasing microbes and poisons, which the Hedrons had previously eliminated, and so their immune system had no defence. And as it turns out, the origin of the deadly spaceship was none other than the planet Earth. So time had therefore healed its own wounds, and the genetic materials that the Hedrons had banished from their planet had come back to them with deadly results.
Yep. And the Doctor causes the time cannon to overload and destroys it, and then so he takes Frobisher and the TARDIS back to Peri's baseball game, and he wonders if they can sneak into the game without paying, and then he materializes, on the playing field.
Yes.
So
very much like the Cricket Men.
Mm-hmm.
But I quite enjoyed this one, I have to say. Yeah,
I like this one on quite a bit. It was a little bit macabre in how many dead bodies they were carrying around in a few different places, but apart from that, it was fun. And somehow Frobisher briefly gets his powers back. He morphs into Godzilla, and then his powers are gone again. And then I really liked kind of the planetary landscapes and cityscapes in this. And the Doctor's dismissal and destruction of the robot servants here very much runs contrary to the ethos kind of espoused, like we heard last month with the 10th Doctor in Shining Darkness. So maybe he's learned something in his intervening incarnations there.
Yeah, well, also the 6th Doctor, I think, is possibly a less tolerant person.
Yeah, that's one way to describe his incarnation.
Yes. Right, I think that gets us on to salad days, doesn't it?
It does, so I've started the timer again.
Mm-hmm. So, Salad Days is again written by Simon Furman. So, Peri is trying to get the Doctor on a diet, so she's serving some salad because she's trying to get him to eat the meal. She notices a strange device nearby, which the Doctor calls a personal reality warp that sends the user to a reality based on their thoughts. And as he leaves, he tells Peri not to touch it.
And this personal reality warp device was giving me the Game of Me flashbacks from Campaign.
Yes!
Shudder the thought.
Yes.
We have some comments, about Peri putting him on the diet. This predates Mel's debut in Terror of the Vervoids by about 6 weeks. So her hairstyles also changed, so she's now sporting her season 23 feathered hair look as opposed to the season 22 kind of bob she was sporting previously. And this is also a one-parter. And it starts out with apologies to Lewis Carroll because not believing what the Doctor said, once she touches the device, she's sent into a reality based on Lewis Carroll's work, which she was reading in a woodland. So Peri gets her wood picnic after all.
Yeah.
And a rabbit looking quite like the Doctor rushes past her, saying that he's late. And Peri walks along and finds 2 figures named Dumb and Dee underneath a tree, and she realized that these are turnips, despite the pair arguing to the contrary. And Peri runs off as they try to tell her the story of the walnut and the cauliflower, as opposed to the walrus.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I've not quite... I've seen Lewis Carroll adaptations, but After slowly treading past the sleeping red cabbage, Peri ends up at a dinner party of the celery, the carrot, and the small tomato. And she accidentally drops a comment that she's eaten plenty of carrots, causing them to believe that she's a murderer.
If this were a 5th Doctor story, you could have Sarah Sutton reprising her role as Alice here.
Oh, yes, yes.
But yeah, there's some beautiful and surreal artwork from John Ridgway in this one as well. So as Peri runs off, she's caught by the Queen of Artichokes and is sentenced to death. And as the Knight and the Knave of Spuds carry out their sentence and the rabbit runs past once more, Peri screams out that she will never eat vegetables again. And
so at that moment, she's sent back to reality in front of the Doctor. And when the Doctor adds that they should finish the salad, Peri suggests instead they eat hamburgers and chips. And as she leaves, the Doctor looks down at the reality warp and smiles. So, which also makes me think, when is this set? Because like the two doctors, the Doctor becomes kind of vegetarian. So maybe these are kind of like Beyond Meat burgers.
I didn't even think about that. I was more fixated on Peri calling fries chips instead of fries. And then I was like, that's the type of mistake that would have made it into the show. Well, anyway, but
this is what happens when you have an American reading this, and also on one hand, and a kind of like a vegetarian reading this on the other.
And Peri was very much giving me Evelyn Smythe vibes at the end.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
And I will point out the last image of this comic is very much based on a publicity still of Colin Baker.
Yeah.
Did have a chuckle, too, at the tomato not worried about being eaten by Peri because it's saying, well, I'm a fruit and not a vegetable.
Yeah. I loved this. I thought this was quite fun.
It was a lot of fun. And it took me back a little bit to the Tides of Time, in terms of being a little bit more surreal.
And Voyager as well, because Voyager gets pretty surreal.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you just let John Ridgway just do his thing, then you have brilliant results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we still have a minute 30 on the timer, so...
Okay. Well, we overran last time, so should we crack on?
Let's do it. So next up we have... Changes. Not to be confused with the very special and traumatic 5-part Punky Brewster miniseries of the same name. Which aired around the same time.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll need to Google that one later.
It was traumatic. She was placed in a foster family and it did not work out.
Oh, really? Okay.
She ran away.
Right.
So this is a 2-parter by Grant Morrison, and the rest of the team is the same again. And it begins with Peri and Frobisher rummaging through a storage room in the TARDIS. And we get some kind of really cool depictions of different rooms and hallways in the ship. And Peri is so taken aback by the cultural treasures that she discovers that she doesn't pay attention when the Sixth Doctor reports that there's an intruder aboard. And Peri and Frobisher decide to explore the TARDIS some more, while leaving the Doctor to investigate the intruder on his own.
And the Doctor discovers that in the past he'd brought aboard some kind of like a swaffle type of alien creature, and that it was in fact a shapeshifter known as a Kimbra Chimera. And this shapeshifter changes to the form of Peri, but Frobisher quickly spots the difference because Peri's clothes and necklace are fused into her flesh because the Chimera are unable to duplicate clothing, which is an oversight, isn't it? The Chimera and Frobisher fight as the Doctor discovers a way to suck the intruder out of the TARDIS, and he does so in the nick of time. And very much like, what's that 13th Doctor Dalek? Sorry, not Revelation, but
Resolution.
Resolution.
With the,
yes,
microwave oven. Yeah.
Yes, this is a kind of like a fun start, but I mean, it doesn't really suggest Grant Morrison's talent, but we have further Grant Morrison material to come.
We do, and a couple of other notes from this one. Temporal grace gets a mention, and the Doctor says that it's tied to when the engines are running. So I think even then they were trying to retcon, how it's inconsistently applied. Yeah. We also get a note here that the Sixth Doctor has met Van Gogh. And he also corrects Peri on her the Americanized pronunciation of it. No, it's not Van Gogh. So the Sixth Doctor must have encountered Van Gogh sometime after he had met the 11th Doctor, perhaps, in the final year of his life. Or perhaps, he didn't connect. Oh, you're the Doctor that I met at another time.
Well, they are two very different types of persons.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily assume they were the same person. We get some cool areas of the TARDIS we haven't seen depicted before, like the memory vaults, a zoo or menagerie. It reminded me a little bit of like what Superman keeps in the Fortress of Solitude in some versions. At one point, we see a hallway with the Doctor's past costumes displayed on mannequins, which looked like a shot from the Doctor Who Experience costume and prop room. Yeah. And we get to visit the secondary control room, which has a tea dispenser instead of a biscuit dispenser.
Yeah. I mean, definitely get a sense that Stephen Moffat will have read these. So, Certainly with something that comes up later. Yes.
Overall, I felt this one was a fun story, but I feel like Peri was written a little bit on the obtuse side because, she's encountered shapeshifters and duplicates before, including Frobisher, so this intruder shouldn't seem all that far-fetched to her, I guess, but... that kind of minor niggle aside, and it ends on another promo shot. But this was a fun little adventure, and anytime we get to explore more of the TARDIS, campaign aside, I very much enjoy it. So.
Yes.
I'm going to forever have that caveat now. I'm still that story stays with you. I'm still thinking about that.
It does.
We've got another minute 30, so we'll go ahead and reset.
Yeah. Because this next one's a bit lengthy.
Takes us to Prophets of Doom. So out in space, there's a colony ship called the Mayflower with its crew of 20,000 people in cryogenic sleep, and it's traveling from a very overcrowded 24th century Earth. And one of the occupants, her name is Kara, is woken up from her sleep by a maintenance computer named Monitor. And so she begins a routine that every 5 years she has to go on duty to check out the ship and fix any easily fixable faults. And you get the impression that different maintenance crew members are woken up at different times. And you get a little bit of a history of like, oh, this person didn't fix this, so she has to fix this, and kind of pick up after her coworkers and stuff. And this one is by Mike Collins, and it's a 3-parter, by the way. And after being stuck in the TARDIS for 3 weeks, Peri is beginning to feel bored. And I thought that was a kind of a nice little nod because the last 3 installments of the comic we've read all took place within the TARDIS. Yeah. So that's a good example of continuity going from story to story. Yeah. So the Doctor proposes yet another holiday. These seem to be going so well. And Kara notices 2 slug-like aliens, unrecognizable to Monitor, patrolling the ship. Kara tries to find out how they entered the ship, but Monitor tells her that they had the correct entry codes, and they arrived from an 85 kiloton bulk carrier, which is currently attached to Access Bay 3 quite properly. So a bit of a mystery here as to who these intruders are and what they're doing.
Back on the TARDIS, the Doctor suggests to Peri and Frobisher a holiday to Arcadia, to the Paradise Planet. So it makes a change from the Eye of Orion, doesn't it?
And not to be confused with Gallifrey's Second City.
Yes, indeed. So they land on the Mayflower and soon meet up with Kara, who threatens them with her laser wielder. And when she sees that they are mostly people, she relaxes and asks whether they are from the top drawer. Kara explains the situation with the slugs, and Monitor, the computer, soon tells her that the Doctor is not from the top drawer. He's an intruder. The Doctor explains who he is and how they've arrived. He persuades Kara to lead them to the top drawer, where the ship's leaders are, believing they can get help. But when they arrive where the top drawer sleep, there's nobody there.
So then these slugs arrive and start firing at the group, all while being watched by kind of an unseen figure. And the Doctor and Kara flee with the damaged Monitor, while Peri and Frobisher are captured. And while escaping, the Doctor explains that the slugs are a group of space mercenaries known as the Profiteers, a little bit like Ferengi, who ravage planets, engaging in no action without sizable return, and with every world conquered just another credit-making endeavor. And while Peri and Frobisher ponder over their fate, the senior profiteer goes into communication with this unseen figure, whom they address as Seth, and Seth asks about the success of their takeover.
Kara explains to the Doctor that the mission of the Mayflower was started by someone called Varley Gabriel, who was a political figure of the 24th century. And after finding a suitable planet for humanity to live on, he called the fittest, smartest and most adept humans to travel, and therefore be the top drawer. And another 20,000 were chosen to work under them. And Seth, meanwhile, explains to the Profiteers that he wants the top drawer, and all others are the Profiteers' concern. But he does demand that they find the Doctor, who he knows is a Time Lord. And Seth says that a ship will arrive soon to collect his cargo, whatever that is.
And the Doctor and Kara are heading towards the computer core, so the Doctor can check if someone tipped the profiteers off. And one thing I really liked about the ship design here is that instead of having turbolifts or elevators, they have anti-grav shafts to get between the floors, which is kind of a cool idea and would be very expensive to depict on screen, but it looked brilliant in the comic.
Yeah.
So Kara dismisses the idea that the profiteers could have been tipped off, as anyone who did so would have to have done that 80 plus years ago. And Monitor clears the Doctor to receive all classified information, so the Doctor's able to set off to work, not realizing that Seth is watching his every move. And just when the Doctor comes across some important information, the profiteers arrive and capture the Doctor, Kara, and Monitor. And Seth watches this with an impassive face, similar to that of Varley Gabriel.
So, on Kara's orders, Monitor, the computer, blinds the profiteers with a burst of light, enabling the Doctor, Kara, and Monitor to escape. Hiding out in the ship's ventilation ducts, the Doctor uses Monitor to instigate the surveillance system's maintenance routines, therefore blinding the security cameras to the fact that he, Kara, and Monitor are returning to the computer core to complete their work. And the Doctor has already learnt that Varley Gabriel has apparently programmed the navigational system to send the Mayflower to the middle of nowhere, and theorises that this is all part of a plot to lure the top drawer into his service. That's an explanation. And once back in the core, the Doctor determines that Peri and Frobisher are still alive aboard the Profiteer's ship and sends Monitor to rescue them. And Frobisher nearly kind of like gives their escape away, but bluffs the Profiteers into retreating by threatening to transform into a ravenous monster.
And Monitor kind of looks like the robots from The Black Hole, if you remember that movie. Oh, there's the...
Well, yeah, we can play one.
Yep. So then the profiteers pursue the escaping prisoners back to the core, where the Doctor and Kara have programmed the Mayflower to blow itself up. The image of Varley Gabriel on the computer screen then comes to life and addresses them, and he is in reality an amoral immortal named Seth, who has been manipulating human history for his own ends for centuries, and he required the top drawer for his own purposes on another world, and engaged in the colonization ruse to lure those elite society members into his service, always intending to sell the remaining colonists into slavery to the profiteers. However, when the profiteers arrive in the computer core, the Doctor threatens to blow up the ship unless they retreat. Seth knows it's a bluff, but the profiteers claim that Gallifreyans are zero tax rated and refuse to take the risk. Seth vows revenge as the profiteers retreat, but the Doctor ignores his rantings and reprograms the Mayflower, sending the colonists to the world which will one day become Arcadia. So it comes full circle at the end there.
Yeah, so this is another thing where you think Moffat definitely read this. Because, there are vibes of the 12th Doctor's sort of Cyberman two-parter towards the end of his time.
Oh, World Enough of Time, yep.
Yeah. And also, as someone who spent quite a bit of time in Plymouth, the Mayflower just really just dragged me out of the story a bit. But, yeah.
I thought this one did a great job of world building.
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
Kind
of the routines on the colony ship. And there's one line where Kara is kicking open a grate and she says, "Time for some emergency manual override." I thought that was fun. She was a cool, kind of well-realized character and feels like one of those kind of one-off characters that would have made for a good companion, potentially.
Yeah. Also, I think this was the first Sixth Doctor comic that I ever read. Because my local library did have some Doctor Who magazines, of which these were the oldest. So reading that one kind of brought back memories. Okay, cool. All right, we move on.
We do.
To The Gift.
And this one is written by Jamie Delano, and we have Richard Starkings now doing the lettering.
Yep.
And this one is in 4 parts.
Yeah, okay, and this will take us over the the timer, I suspect.
Oh, yeah.
Many years ago, Monik Tony Shug, which is a name, was piloting a deep space load lugger, and he miscalculates the space geography, runs out of fuel, and crash lands onto an uncharted satellite of an obscure planet. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Peri are enjoying the beaches of the planet's Hysia, Frobisher is kind of like bored and wants to go to a party. And heading back to the TARDIS, the Doctor and the crew scout through various invitations till Frobisher picks out an invite for the 21st birthday party of the Lord Duke of Zaz. I love the idea that the Doctor has a whole host of invites. And Zaz is a planet created by Earth colonists whose culture is rather reminiscent of early 20th century America. So they head to a building on a mountain where a Professor Strutt is preparing a rocket for the moon of that planet. But his brother, the Lord Duke, stopped him from launching it. So they head back to the TARDIS, to the TARDIS crew, and Strutt, sort of happier, stops them and tells the Doctor to give a present to the Lord Duke and hands over the gift.
And then the TARDIS arrives in Harlem Town, and the crew head to the Cotton Club and meet the Lord Duke. And after dancing for quite a while, they decide they have to rest. And Frobisher is pondering with the Lord Duke about how square his brother is. And you get very much like a jazz, like 1920s kind of flapper sort of vibe. That's how Peri's dressed. And the Lord Duke says that they shouldn't meet Strutt as he's in exile after crashing a rocket and wiping out the Heidi-Ho Club. And the Doctor fetches the gift, and as soon as the Lord Duke opens it, a spider-like robot emerges, sticking anything metal to it, almost like in a Katamari sort of way, if you're familiar with that video game. And the robot flees as it's shot at, but the Lord Duke demands that it's destroyed.
As the TARDIS crew leave, they are stopped by a guard and told to sleep in the club. In the middle of the night, the robot returns and destroys the Lord Duke's jukebox before again fleeing. And the crew and the Lord Duke step outside to see more robots, and they're kind of like self-replicating scavenger robots, ripping up the city. And the Doctor suggests that they go speak to Strutt if he hasn't actually left the planet by now.
And Peri's being held hostage by the Lord Duke, singing old songs to calm him down. Something that she may end up doing with Brian Blessed later. Who knows? So the Doctor and Frobisher are kind of off on their own, and Strutt is quite unprepared for the news as he thought that there was only one robot. And as Frobisher threatens to launch a rocket, Strutt explains that the robot came back from the moon in a rock sample that was taken by a probe, the same probe that had crashed into that other club, the Heidi-Ho Club. And Strutt repaired the one robot's energy cells to have revenge on his brother, but I don't think realized that this robot was self-replicating and would soon reproduce almost exponentially. And the Doctor tells Frobisher to guard Strutt as he goes to the moon in the TARDIS to investigate.
The Doctor lands the TARDIS just after she crashes onto the moon. The Doctor sees this, noting that all organic life forms will be destroyed. And a Servatron robot struggles out of the wreckage to survey damage and repair as it's programmed to do. And it recreates its damaged self by scavenging parts from the ship. And the Servatron realises it will wear out before fixing the ship, and so it must reproduce and create new robots, and so teaching each one how to survive. And so an entire robot culture is created on the moon using solar power and abstract thought. And the Doctor tries to find how such a species was sent back to the level that the probe has shown. And the Doctor, remembering a disaster on the way into the past, sends the TARDIS to this time.
And then you have a meteor shower, which is bombarding the city. And so all the robots head into a bunker to, for safety, waiting for an all clear. But a giant meteor hits, burying all the buildings of these robots under rubble. And when the storm dies down, the Doctor emerges from the safety of the TARDIS, and he's put on a NASA spacesuit. And that's some really cool imagery. It kind of brought back like the Impossible Astronaut a little bit.
Yeah.
And the robots underneath the rubble, they need light to be able to, charge their batteries. But all the sunlight is, clouded out by the dust and debris that has been kicked up from the meteor shower. Some of the robots are able to surface, but again, there's no solar power available. But what the robots do notice is the Doctor as they're running out of power, and they fire at him, thinking that he is raw material that they can use and process.
On the moon, the Doctor discovers that the dust is clogging the solar receptors in the robots. So when the air clears, they won't be able to kind of like fully reactivate themselves. Now that he knows about the robots, he wonders how he can save Zaz. And he needs a way to kind of like gather the robots together and send them off Zaz, preferably to the moon. Because it's too risky to use the TARDIS, even though the TARDIS's recording of the meteor alarm could and would assemble them.
And arriving back to Strut and Frobisher, and he's investigating the rocket, making sure that it's safe enough so it can fly, the Doctor explains that humans could never survive the rocket flight, but robots could. And he tells Frobisher to supervise the professor programming the rocket to land on the moon and to put the TARDIS's transmitter inside of the rocket.
And the TARDIS lands outside a club where the robots continue to wreck the city, and the Doctor explains his plan. But after an hour, there's no change. And as the robots are attacking the TARDIS, the Doctor realises that the signal must be too weak. Watching hopelessly as the robots rebuild the city like their buildings on the moon, Peri recites the poem for the Pied Piper of Hamelin, as one does in times of stress. And this gives the Doctor an idea, and he rounds up the musicians for the loudest marching band ever, playing a piece very similar to the recall alarm. And the Doctor hopes to lead the robots in reaching the transmitter. And as the Doctor shows the music to the band, Peri accepts a drink from the Lord Duke.
And the Doctor and his band walk through the streets of Zaz, luring out the robots who seem to regard the music signal as a danger worth tracking. And the scavenger robots follow to a cliff where they fall down into the sea and keep on marching on the seabed in the direction of the volcano island that Professor Strut is exiled on.
Yeah, and on said island, Professor Strut is preparing his rocket with help from Frobisher, because Strut wants to be the first man from Zaz in space. That's his words. Maybe there's a whole host of Zaz women have been up there. And Frobisher hears some scratching at the castle door, and so gets the professor to open the door, which leads to Professor Strut being overwhelmed by robots. And the scavenger robots pile into the rocket. And the professor at this stage kind of like knows that the volcano is about to blow up. I can't quite remember how. It all gets a little bit convoluted. Also, I was very COVIDy, and and the professor is starting to get quite angry until Frobisher remembers that he's got shape-changing powers again, and so Frobisher turns himself into a penguin-shaped hang glider for them both to use to escape.
Oh. Frobisher is the get-out-of-jail-free card of this collection. And so then this installment ends with Frobisher and Professor Strut landing on a boat, which happens to be piloted by the Doctor, just as the rocket is taking off, possibly returning the robots to the moon of Zaz, where they had come from originally. And the Lord Duke and Professor Strut come to like a peace settlement because at least the scavenger robots are gone. And that's the end of this episode.
Yes.
This story. I have to say, this was my least favorite in the collection.
Me too.
By far.
Me too.
It was just so convoluted.
Unbelievably, there was a review of this collection for Doctor Who magazine when this came out in like sort of 2007 and 8 or wherever it was, and said that this story, if it had been made for TV, would have been the shining star of not the exact words, but that kind of thing of the season, and that it was probably one of the greatest Doctor Who comic strip stories.
Oh,
I thought, really? This was awful.
Yeah, I mean, the Pied Piper scene alone is, cringeworthy. Frobisher as a penguin glider.
Yeah.
The other scientist character, Professor Strut, never really warmed to him.
No.
The final shot of Peri looking wet and exhausted in the rain, saying, "Oh no," really sums up my thoughts about this story.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a very bad kind of misremembered Star Trek episode with the whole kind of like 1920s kind of look that's never properly explained. No one even tries to explain it. And also you have things like the Cotton Club, that's misspelt, I think. You've got all this other weird spelling, like Lord Duke is all one word. And it's just like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. I had to read this one twice, and I still
sorry.
not grasping the plot of it. So
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to our final story of the collection.
Yes. Have we saved the best to last?
Perhaps we have.
Yes.
We shall see. It's the eponymous title track. The World Shapers. We have Grant Morrison returning. We now also have an inker, Tim Perkins, for the first time, and Tim's credit changes between episodes from inker to finishing artist. so this is a 3-parter.
Is it in Clerks or is it Chasing Amy where the inker is described as a colourer in?
I think that's Chasing Amy.
Yes,
Yeah.
which my other half quoted to somebody at a comic book convention. And I was like, oh, look, let's not do this. Okay. All right. Okay. But let's do the World Shapers. Yeah. And in fact, I think we will start with a dramatic rendition.
Oh,
So that will come in here.
excellent. Read by my husband, also named Matt, and we'll listen to that here.
Well, here we are. This is where that distress signal was coming from. Nice weather. Do you ever get deja vu? I'm sure I... Wait a minute. I know this place. It's Marinus. Marinus, the water world. You've been here before, Doc? Something to do with keys and a conscious machine. Everything's so vague prior to my second regeneration, but I do remember being here and coming up against a race of amphibious assassins known as the Vord. I'm sure the planet was a lot busier then. The Vord, the Morpho creatures, the fishmen of Kondalinga. Sounds like the lineup for a punk concert. It certainly seems deserted now. I wonder what... Doctor, look! Oh, don't worry about that, Peri. It's just a TARDIS. That's a TARDIS? I think we can safely assume we found the source of the distress call. Doc, while we're on the subject of distress, I think you'd better come take a look down here. We've got a Time Lord in trouble. Hold on, old chap. We'll get you back to your TARDIS. 14. Planet 14. What's that? Planet 14. He's gone. What's happening? Is he regenerating? Not this time. He's exhausted all his bodies. His flesh will break down into degenerate matter, then into random molecules. Yuck. Strange, it doesn't usually happen that fast. What are we going to do now? Well, I don't know about you, but I want a word with his TARDIS. There's more to this than meets the eye.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much for that. That was very much appreciated. So the Sixth Doctor, Peri and Frobisher, are following a distress signal to a watery planet that the Doctor recognises as Marinus, although it's now apparently deserted. And the signal was coming from another TARDIS. And they find an elderly dying Time Lord who mutters Planet 14 before expiring. And because this Time Lord was on his last regeneration, his body breaks down into its constituent molecules. The Doctor notes that it happened very quickly. And the late Time Lord's TARDIS informs them that they were sent to Marinus to investigate violent disturbances in a space-time continuum.
And I liked how when the Time Lord was dying there, that the depiction almost echoed what the Master looked like at the end of his regenerations in, The Deadly Assassin and Keeper of Traken. I thought that was a nice kind of tie-in touch in the artwork there.
So Frobisher is molting rapidly, which is interesting for a shape changer. And Peri's hair and fingernails are growing. And the Doctor notes that time has been accelerated. And the mention of Planet 14 jogs the Doctor's memory. And he dimly recalls an adventure from his second incarnation. So he decides to visit Jamie McCrimmon to see if he would know. And as they depart in the TARDIS, observed by a group of Vord, because it's Marinus, a spaceship prepares to land, piloted by Dedron and Maxilla, who repair world shapers. They note that the last world shaper they repaired was on Planet 13.
And so World Shaper is like a kind of like terraforming technology.
Yeah.
And the Planet 14 reference, I think that was originally in The Invasion.
Yes.
And was referenced most recently, I think, by the 12th Doctor in The Doctor Falls.
Yes. We may get other callbacks to that.
So then the TARDIS arrives in Scotland in the 18th century, and the travelers are escorted by Dugald.
Dugald?
To visit
Dugald. It's not, I don't think it's a common name.
That sounds more Scottish.
Yeah.
Dugald. To visit Mad Jamie, who has been labelled as crazy after the Battle of Culloden.
Culloden, yes.
Claiming to have visited the moon and the stars. And having miscalculated by about 40 years, the Doctor and crew find Jamie as an isolated old man living alone in a rundown shack. And Jamie, who had been trained by the Doctor to resist the Time Lord's erasure of his memory, fortunately.
Yes.
And I'm very much hoping that if Jamie can break through the Time Lord's mental block, then I'm sure Zoe could as well.
Yeah, one would hope that...
Jamie recalls mention of the Planet 14 by the Cyber Controller in their dealings with the Cybermen's attempted invasion of Earth in the London sewers, which I think may have been one of the first ever references in Doctor Who to like a missing off-screen adventure. You get the reference to Quinnis, with the first Doctor and Susan, but I think Planet 14 might be the next big missing thing like that.
Yeah.
So Jamie begs the Doctor to take him with them. Jamie, of course, recognizing the Doctor from The Two Doctors, which had aired by the time that, this comic had come out. And they arrive on Marinus only a week since their departure, but in that time, all of Marinus's vast oceans have already been drained. And they encounter Maxilla, now rapidly aged, gasping for help and claiming that it's all gone wrong. And they turn to find themselves surrounded by a party of Vord who bear some uncanny resemblances to the Cybermen.
Yeah. So they retreat with Maxilla into the safety of the TARDIS, and Maxilla tells them how the Vord had captured the World Shaper and used it to rapidly evolve, and Maxilla's partner Dedron was killed in the process, but Maxilla partly shielded himself with a time shield, which is convenient, and the Vord are evolving into Cybermen, and the Doctor realises the peril the Cybermen would pose to the World Shaper, and he resolves that the machine must be destroyed, leaving Peri and Frobisher behind in the TARDIS. The Doctor, Jamie and Maxilla home in on the World Shaper, and Maxilla is stunned to find it unguarded, but runs into a protective field surrounding it, which ages him to death. Poor Maxilla. Jamie decides to sacrifice his life by plunging his sword into the heart of the World Shaper, and an enormous burst of temporal energy engulfs the entire planet, though the Doctor by this point has managed to escape to the TARDIS, and this causes millions of years of geological development to pass very quickly. And once it subsides, the TARDIS crew emerge to find a pair of Time Lords waiting for them, and the Doctor now recognises that this isn't the planet Marinus anymore. This is Mondas.
Which Stephen Moffat changes in The Doctor Falls by mentioning Planet 14 and Marinus separately.
And Mondas as well, I think. Yeah.
So this bit of continuity I don't think has been adapted, but it was quite a shocking revelation, as was, of course, Jamie's death scene.
Yes.
Which was very shocking, yet very fitting to the character, too. And it makes me wonder if that portion of this has ever been contradicted by other media or not.
I don't think it has.
So then the Time Lords order the Doctor and his party to leave, despite the Doctor's insistence that they have the chance to stop the Cybermen's development before they can threaten the galaxy. And as the Doctor angrily departs, the Time Lords reflect that in 5 million years' time, the Cybermen will evolve beyond corporeal form into a disembodied, benevolent race, becoming the most peaceful and advanced people in the universe. They agree that the millions of years of bloodshed in the interim are worth the ultimate salvation of sentient life. Which I don't know that I would agree with that ethos there.
Well, the Time Lords have some interesting views, so they...
Yeah.
That ends the story of the World Shapers and the collection of the World Shapers.
And it was a beautiful final image, the Time Lord silhouettes. It reminded me of like a matte painting of Vulcan, from like the Star Trek films around the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I can accept wholeheartedly some... Jamie's death aside, or his sacrifice aside, some of the other continuity bits here have very firmly been contradicted, but I do appreciate that it does tie into Moffat's statement that all sentient life has the potential to go down a dark path with technology and evolve into some type of Cybermen.
Yeah.
Where you see the Cybermen emerging in different cultures and times and even dimensions.
You can just sort of think, just think about the Time War. And so you can just use that as like, right, this happened, Time War then happened, and 12th Doctor. So this is as much canon as you want it to be.
Exactly.
So
the Time War is a good get out of...
Yes, get out of continuity hell. I remember reading this as a 9-year-old and being shocked. And being so sad for Jamie, but also just kind of this just blew my mind. So, I mean, did you read it spoiler free?
I did, yeah, spoiler free. So I was very surprised that Jamie showed up. I was very surprised to see the Vord. But yeah, knowing that it's contradicted by later things that take me out of it a little bit. Where I was more examining it from. Like, well, that doesn't make sense. Trying to reconcile it with my own kind of internal headcanon. Yeah. But to your point, Time War helps sand those edges off a little bit.
Yeah. And when we were discussing World Enough and Time on the podcast, I remember kind of trying to very carefully allude to the story without wanting to spoil it, because we figured that we would eventually get to this collection. So you could have a listen back to that one and just
and pick up on that.
Yes. We kind of go, cool. This might have been referenced, but So, I'm glad that you read this without being spoiled, because it is one of... I think for me, this is the standout story in the collection, I would say. And also, it is such a... it's obviously a grim story, but in many ways, because this is published in 1987, it certainly... I don't know if it was written after Colin Baker had been fired, but it's certainly published after he's been fired. I do wonder whether this is written as a kind of like giving an actual proper farewell. There is very much a kind of like an end of an era feel, even though Frobisher isn't written out and Peri isn't written out in this, but it does feel it's kind of like one last hurrah maybe, but also as well being in some ways it's the comics Caves of Androzani. At least until Ground Zero came along.
I do think Jamie's inclusion did sideline Peri and Frobisher a little bit in this story, but it was great to see him return. Yeah. And poor Peri, because also possibly by this time in her timeline, she'd already taken part in Ground Zero. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that call forward.
Yeah, she would have, because that was, Huh.
Yeah, I would say this one and probably Salad Days and Time Bomb were my favorites.
Yeah.
Of the collection.
Yeah, I enjoyed Prophets of Doom more when we were going through the synopsis of it than I did reading it. So I think of the two collections, Voyager for me is the stronger. But this is also definitely worth a read, and the artwork's great as well. So and you do get a good sense of the Sixth Doctor and Peri, and also I would say Frobisher he's characterized consistently, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I probably would have wanted maybe a little bit more character development with Peri. She seemed kind of one note throughout a lot of this.
Yeah.
I think maybe Salad Days is probably her strongest story.
Yeah.
That and maybe Nature of the Beast, but yeah.
But there's not a lot to work with, though.
There isn't, yeah.
So from the TV time. Yeah, from the TV, yeah. Right. So I think this is where we rate this, don't we?
Yeah, for me, I guess I wish there would have been a little bit more variety in terms of the types of stories we got. Everything was very much alien planets and ships in the future, and I was hoping for maybe a story or two that was set during contemporaneous times, like in the 80s or in the past.
Yeah.
And not like, like the Star Trek recreation of the 1920s.
Yes.
But overall it was a lot of fun. And Peri, even though I felt both her and Frobisher were a little underused in parts, I did appreciate she got more screen time or page time here, than she did in Voyager.
Yeah.
So I guess as a score as a whole, I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Which is the same score I gave Voyager, but with the caveat that Voyager I thought was like a high 7 and this is like a low 7.
Yeah.
But they very much felt like two halves of a whole, and I'm glad we've read both parts, together as a collection, and it feels like an accomplishment. We've read the entirety of the Six Doctors run in the comics now.
Yeah.
That aired at the time, not counting other stuff. But yeah, how about yourself?
I think I would also give it a 7 as well. I think it is lifted to a 7 by the title track. Because the gift is not good. But when I was reading the gift, I suddenly remembered, because my piece that I did for Mild Curiosities was also called The Gift.
So that can replace this one as our preferred continuity.
Yeah, there's also quite a few other things in the Doctor Who universe stories that are called The Gift as well.
Yeah, it was a solid collection, and very much glad I read it. And
poor Jamie. But it's also it's a kind of a weirdly fitting kind of thing. But I just didn't like him being described as Mad Jamie. You just just wanted to give him a hug. But Jamie in this doesn't really look like Fraser Hines. But just looks like random old man. I think if I was reading this as an adult, I would kind of think, oh, you've brought back an old person. They are probably going to die. And maybe this is where the New Adventures kind of get their bloodlust for killing off sort of like former regulars. But here it's memorable, it is shocking, but it also feels on a piece with the story.
And it helps to like having the same artist on the the entire work. John Ridgway did a fantastic. I mean, there's a couple of panels where you can tell the
reference,
the likenesses.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just gorgeous, and especially landscapes and cityscapes and space stations and spaceships. They're all uniquely designed, and they all look of the era and invoke incredible nostalgia for something that I didn't read at the time, but very much makes me feel like I'm time traveling back to that era. So really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were so lucky to have John Ridgway. And I also am so glad that things like, was it Prisoners of Time, that he came back to do the Sixth Doctor issue of that. It's just rather brilliant. Yeah.
Do you know who does the art on the Age of Chaos?
It is not John Ridgway. I can't remember who it was, but it's not him. So, because I think that is that, and the Sixth Doctor appears in a DWM story facing Davros, and that's not John Ridgway either.
Okay.
But like that was in the 90s. Oh dear. But anyway, I did remember just absolutely adoring this story, and I guess it's kind of like, it's a bit like Earthshock, isn't it, in many ways? However, I think I would say it's a more interesting story than Earthshock. Yeah, even taking out the shocking revelation of Cyberman and companion death. I think it's still interesting.
Yeah. Shall we move on to listener feedback?
Yes, let's.
All right. So we have an email from Joe in Ohio. You can email us at andwbcpodcast@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to read your feedback out on the show. Joe writes, I've been reading Doctor Who books across all ranges for years, but I don't know anyone else who reads them. Your podcast is a great way for me to engage with the book after I've read it, and your observations and insights are valuable.
Cool.
As a fan since the 90s, my memory of details and references is not always great, and I'm happy to hear you connect the dots. You're knowledgeable about all of Doctor Who, including the amazing Big Finish audios, which is refreshing when so many podcasts are new series only. And I guess I would say, with a caveat, I'm only knowledgeable about the first 100 or so Big Finish audios. After that, it trails off rather steeply.
Yeah. I don't think the caveat for me is that, I think for me it's the first 50. But though I've read a few summaries on Wikipedia. So.
Joe also asks about where to find episodes of the original Book Club podcast. So we directed him to our Twitter feed, where we occasionally will tweet out the link to that.
Yep.
And he thanks us for our podcast and asks us to keep up the good work. So thank you very much, Joe, for that lovely note.
Oh, fantastic.
How about on Facebook?
Right, on Facebook. So on Facebook, we did have a lovely message that I'm struggling to find. I don't know how long I can blame COVID brain, but yeah. So Van Turner said they greatly enjoyed Shining Darkness and enjoyed listening to our review. And Van's posted her own on over on Goodreads. So which is, I think, very much in line with our thoughts, I would say, as a whole.
Yeah, I went over to Goodreads and read his review, and calls out Donna and the Doctor taking on racism and the concept of othering with the robot sentient creatures in that story. So very much agreed with us on the message there and the take on that. On the Twitter side, we've got, looks like 3 tweets. One from Acrobatic Flea, who writes that they were really intrigued by Campaign right until we revealed the twist at the end, which left them thinking, oh, was that it? I guess I was expecting something grander. So you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And then Keith Say, 50 DW50 on Twitter, says he enjoyed the Shining Darkness discussion, though the mind boggles at what Chris's rabbit did to his copy of the World Shapers. And you sent me a picture of that. It wasn't too bad.
No.
It was just a couple of nibbles here and there.
Yes, a little bit of damage to the spine, but it was. I think it made it sound a lot worse than it was.
And then we also heard from Matt Phillips, who says, another excellent episode, referring to Shining Darkness. And he says the podcast continues to be the highlight of his listening month.
Oh,
so
that's lovely.
Thank you so much.
That is very lovely. Right.
So that brings us to the month of May, I think.
Yes, it does. It does bring us to May. So I kind of thought the Sixth Doctor and Frobisher era is one of my favourite, which you picked. So I thought I'd return the favour.
Oh.
And I thought I'd take you to one of your favourite eras. So,
Okay.
We are going to be visiting the time of the Second Doctor.
Excellent.
So we're going to be reading Dreams of Empire by Justin Richards.
Ooh.
Which has not been done by the previous version of the show. I've checked and checked and checked.
Thank you for double checking.
Yes. And this is one that is readily available in ebook form.
Oh, excellent.
You do not have to go rooting around for an expensive version of it. So you can get a moderately cheap version of it from your ebook provider of choice.
I'm very much looking forward to that. Do you happen to know which TARDIS team?
It is Jamie and is it Victoria? I think it's Victoria. Possibly Victoria.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, it'll be fun to catch up with Jamie.
But it's definitely Jamie, yes. Because there's an interesting amount of Second Doctor books that don't have Jamie in them. Because there's a fair few Ben and Polly ones, and but if you're going to the Second Doctor, you may as well go and get the Jamie, and and so this will be 2 Jamies in a row. It's just occurred to me, but
that works.
Yeah, I think it works.
Very much looking forward to it.
Yes.
Well, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Happy reading and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
Titan. I'll hold on 1 second until that car goes by on my end this time.
Makes a refreshing change, doesn't it?
It does.
My mum, she's temporarily buying Sky Sports for the day so that she can watch the match tomorrow.
So that's at Wembley, you said, right?
It is at Wembley, yes.
That'll be amazing.
Yeah, we have a 100% record at Wembley. We have been there 3 times and lost every time.
And who are they playing tomorrow?
We are playing Rotherham, who are top of the division above us. So,
Well, it'll be a fun day
yeah,
out.
it'll be a fun day out. Yeah, that's the way we're approaching it. Sorry, that was awful today.
No, you're fine.
How do we end, Chris? What are the words you've been saying now for 5 years?